It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 6 of Fear the Walking Dead. This is my teaser trailer breakdown for the upcoming episode of Fear the Walking Dead, Season 6 Episode 9, which is called Things Left to Do. Stay tuned, we'll be right back to break this teaser down. Alright, before we get into this, as always, if you're not a subscriber and enjoy the content, subscribe to join our community, share and smash the like button and press the bell to be notified when we upload. With that, let's dive right into it. So obviously, right off the bat, no pun intended, we did know that one of these episodes in the second half will have a lineup scene, much like the lineup scene that we had on the original Walking Dead. The interesting thing about it is that they're actually advertising or marketing this episode having Fear's own version of a lineup scene, which is interesting to say the least. Now, there's actually a lot of interesting stuff in this teaser that lead me to think more and more that this is gonna be a copy of the original lineup scene from the original show with Negan. I hate to say it, but it definitely seems like it. And I'll kind of go through the reasons why I feel like that's true. But this teaser actually starts off with this shot of Strand pointing his gun at someone. This is obviously during the lineup scene. A lot of the scenes from this teaser are from the lineup. So obviously that means that the lineup is going to be a big part of this episode. But in this specific shot, we have Strand pointing his gun at someone. If I were to make a prediction, I think he's probably pointing it at one of the Rangers or Ginny herself. I could be wrong, but that's what it feels like. I mean, when it comes to Strand, there's really two ways they could go. They could either have him completely turn into a villain, which seemed like they were doing up to this point, but with this particular shot, it doesn't look like he's pointing the gun at one of the survivors. Obviously, we do see June in the background as well. She is one of the people that is in the lineup scene. And then we have this other shot of the lineup. Obviously, we have Ginny's people surrounding the survivors. I'm sure Strand and Ginny herself are somewhere there as well. But in the lineup, we actually have Danny Salazar, Sarah, and Grace. We don't see June in this particular shot, but I'm pretty sure she's also there. And Luciana is also with them as well. And then we have this particular shot of Ginny holding her hand up as if she's holding a gun. An intimidation factor, obviously, but then in the voiceover she says, "You better bring Dakota back to Lawton right now or some very bad things are about to happen." So obviously it seems like the reason why she has everyone lined up is so that she could get Dakota back, which makes sense at this point. And if we kind of think about where the last episode ended, things could line up even more because now she's not sure what they're gonna do and whether they're actually gonna do anything to Dakota or not. So maybe she's taking some extreme measures in getting her back at this point. The other thing that I found interesting was that she says, "Bring Dakota back or some very bad thing is about to happen," which actually reminded me of Here's Negan, Season 10, Episode 22 of the original show. Negan said the exact same thing in his backstory. "This time you better hope I don't stop talking, because if I do, or when I do, something very bad is going to happen to you." Not saying that this was done on purpose, because obviously this was actually filmed before Here's Negan, I'm pretty sure, but I just thought that it was very interesting that these two are the same. But the other thing is, this is obviously a lineup scene, and the way it looks is very similar to what they did in the original show. Now, if it sounds like I'm a little salty when I'm talking about this, it's because I am. I mean, if it looks like it's a ripoff, if it feels like it's a ripoff, if it sounds like it's a ripoff, it's a ripoff. You know what I mean? So I don't think we can sugarcoat it anymore. This is a copy of the Negan lineup scene, and I just think that that loses a lot of its magic. Then we have this shot again of Dakota in the same angle, and then we have this shot of Grace and Sarah with the Rangers in the background. Now, this is what I wanted to also mention. There's two other things that make this very similar to the lineup scene. One, we have a pregnant lady in the lineup, just like we had Maggie in the lineup on the original show who was pregnant. So that's similar in that way. But also the way Sarah looks here and the way she's, holding out her chest and acting all tough and everything is very similar to what Abraham did on the original show when the lineup happened. So again, another similarity that makes it more and more like they're just copying, pasting the exact same situation. So we're gonna have to wait and see whether they're actually gonna have a lot more similarities in the lineup or whether these are just about it. I mean, it's still too much. There's a lot of similarities, but I just hope that they are not that lazy to do the exact same thing all the way through. Obviously, with the biggest difference being there is no Negan, there is no Lucille or anything like that, but at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Ginny just comes out and says, "Are we pissing our pants yet?" Because it just feels like they want to do exactly the same thing. I'm gonna stop ranting here. The next shot we have is this shot of Ginny holding the gun to Danny Salazar's head, who we see here. He has a huge gash on his head, so something happened. He was hit in the head or something. And then we have this shot of Grace, and then this shot of everyone in the lineup. Again, June is also with them, but she's not there right away. It looks like she is brought out later on, which is again very similar to how they brought out Daryl, Glenn, and Michonne after everyone else on the original lineup scene. And then we have this shot of Strand pointing the gun at someone and then counting down, it seems. And then another shot of him actually shooting someone, which is interesting. Again, this looks like it's the exact same shot as the first shot that we looked at, so I'm assuming he's just pointing the gun at one of the Rangers and maybe he shoots one of them, but I could obviously be wrong. And then we have a gunfight at this point because everyone's just shooting. Then we have this shot of one of the Rangers running away. He jumps on top of this car to take cover. And then we have this other Ranger getting shot, which is pretty interesting. So there's going to be a big gunfight that's going to take place. And then we have this shot. Now what's interesting is if you take a look, we do see what looks to be one of the Rangers taking Danny Salazar away to the far left. And then more to the right, we actually see Ginny holding someone. Now that could be one of the hostages, one of the people in the lineup, or it could be Dakota. It could go both ways. We clearly can't see. But what we know for sure is that one of the Rangers is clearly taking Danny Salazar away. We know that he does get injured, and there's even a different shot on a different teaser where we have one of the Rangers dragging him away, which I think clearly connects to this shot right here. And then we have this shot of Strand shooting at someone. Again, I think it's likely that he's gonna switch sides once again and help the survivors, but we obviously have to wait and see. And then we have this shot of Strand, and then that's pretty much it. That's all the shots from the lineup scene. But then we have this shot of Strand and some other Rangers showing up to the dam where Morgan and the others have their safe haven. And then we have this shot of Strand giving a signal. And then we have this shot of Althea talking to someone through the walkie-talkie. And then we actually see the Rangers in the background. Strand is with them, I believe. So that's interesting. And then Althea says, "What do you want, Victor?" And then we have Strand right there. So it looks like Strand is talking to someone who may be on the walkie-talkie, but I could be wrong about that. But obviously, Strand hasn't switched over. So maybe this is a hint that it wasn't Strand shooting the Rangers in the previous shot that we looked at. Maybe he's just helping the Rangers and shooting the survivors, who knows. And then we have this shot of the Rangers waiting on the hill, and then this shot of the Rangers on the hill and Strand, and then this shot. Now what's interesting is that we have Sherry there. So Sherry at this point comes to where they are and most likely joins with the survivors. We did have Morgan asking Dwight to call Sherry and bring her out, so I'm pretty sure that that's what happens, and that's why Sherry is there. And then we have this shot of Dwight, Morgan, and Alicia coming out to talk to most likely Strand. And then we have this shot, so we have someone's asking, "You want satisfaction, Victor?" Now, in the voiceover, it sounds like it's Morgan, but I could be wrong. But what's interesting is that Danny Salazar is on the other side. and it doesn't look like he's held at gunpoint or anything like that. So that's extremely interesting to say the least. Not saying that he joins with them, but that's interesting because from the previous shots that we looked at, it looks like he was taken away by the Rangers. So that's very, very interesting. And then we have this shot of Strand, and then this shot of Morgan saying, then we should twist the knife. Talking to Strand, not exactly sure what he means by that, but then this shot of Strand and Danny Salazar and others in the background. Now it's interesting because that might actually be June on the horse as well. So that's very, very interesting. Not sure what to make of that, but that's very interesting. And then we have this shot of Morgan talking to Alicia. Alicia says, I can talk to Strand. And then Morgan says, will he listen? And Alicia nods her head as if to say, I'm not sure. And then we have this final shot of Strand with his horse riding away. And then that's pretty much it. There isn't too much else we can talk about. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do in this episode and how much the lineup scene is gonna be significant in the grand scheme of things. Like, is it gonna be an actual lineup scene just like the original show that has a long-lasting impact on where the story goes, or is it gonna be something that they just do and nothing comes out of it? But that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to share and smash the like button. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe to join our community and press the bell to be notified when we upload. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.